Hey everyone, I'm Winston, and today I'm going to be presenting about AI and art. I'm actually down with the flu, so I might be coughing here and then, so do bear with me. So let me just introduce myself. So my name is Winston Ng, and I'm the founder and CEO of Finew, which is a metaverse technology company in Singapore. And I've been programming and designing games and virtual worlds since I was 10 years old, including art, and it's been a fun journey since then. And I'm currently still in high school in Singapore. So these are the things that I'll be talking about today, which is introduction to AI in art, GAN, and how GANs can change lives, and of course, the International Day for Universal Access to Information. So, without further ado, let me just introduce to that. So, introduction to AI in art. You might have seen these headlines recently. So, if you look at the headlines, there's also one quite notable one, which is this filter on TikTok. So if you ever use the social media app TikTok, you might come across this filter or even see people using this filter where they were able to type in different phrases and even words to actually generate a AI image for their TikTok. So I'm not sure if you can see, but there's this TikTok filter here where someone actually wrote that they wanted a DSLR camera in space, and the AI actually generated that for them. As you can see here, there's actually a DSLR camera in space, which is quite unique. There's also other news that is quite prominent, which is notably that people began selling AI generated artwork on stock photography websites, and they were using software that actually create art on demand, which is quite interesting. I'll be talking about that later. And DALL-E 2, which is quite a popular AI image generator, and as well as the debate regarding how people see as art, like traditional art is dead, as AI is so-called replacing traditional art. But I find this as a fallacy. It may not be true. So let's just move on into that. So what is AI art? Well, this is a very short and brief definition, which is it refers to art that is generated with the assistance of artificial intelligence. So how do you make AI art? So there are a few different programs that actually do this. I don't want to dive into the technical details as it's quite technical. So I'll just say it in quite briefly, but these are some of the software that you can use, which is Deep Dream, DALL-E 2, and Galgan 2. I'm not sure if you're blocking it, but yeah, Galgan 2. So what's interesting is that each of these they were able to generate different artwork. So if you look at Galgan 2, which is right beside me, it's quite interesting as they literally just drew a simple the computer paint software. It's like paint, you just draw it out and the AI will actually generate a very high realistic looking picture. So that's something that's quite interesting, and you guys should try it out if you're actually interested in creating your own AI art. So let's just talk about the technology behind all of these, which is essentially like what I mentioned in my overview just now, which is GAN, which is a generative adversarial network. So what is a GAN? Well, GANs is a type of machine learning framework that was developed in 2014, and it is currently used widely for AI artwork. So if you actually see, this is actually some of the artwork that were created from using a GAN. And GANs were actually first used in artwork in 2015, and notably in the notably in the Deep Dream algorithm, as mentioned in this. So Deep Dream was actually the first to actually utilize GAN for AI image generation. And what's interesting is that how a GAN work is, I don't want to be too specific, but you can see here that there's actually a real image and there's actually a generator. And what this my apologies, I was quite coughing. So essentially a GAN has has actually these two critical and important components, which is what I call a generator and a discriminator. So essentially, the generator's job is to actually generate real looking images, which is basically what you see, like the real looking images. And the discriminator's job is to identify which one is a fake. So essentially, if you think about it, it's like a generator and the discriminator trying to fight each other to actually create a a perfect, so-called a perfect image. This is the best I can explain in a layman term. So if you want to read more, I think it's better if you look up online, as I don't have much time to explain it in detail. So moving on, some GAN artworks are actually quite notable. So let's talk about some of the notable ones. One of them is the Edmund de Bellamy. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, which is the first widely reported sale of an AI artwork. And although it wasn't the first AI artwork, it was the most widely reported sale. As if you see from the numbers, it was quite insane. It was sold at the Christie's auction in 2018 for $432,000, which is quite a lot of money. If you have heard about the NFT hype at the start of the year, actually many of the NFT projects will actually use some of again to actually generate some of the works. And I'm going to show you one of the more famous ones. This is quite a notable NFT, which was actually created by Ollie Hendon and Matt Dryhurst Crossing the Interface, which is a decentralized autonomous organization. So this is an artwork that was actually generated using a GAN, and artists have actually used a GAN to actually create abstract paintings and landscapes, which were then actually minted as an NFT. So if you don't know what the NFT is, in simple terms, it is essentially a record on the blockchain. So if you've ever seen those monkey like profile pictures or monkey pictures, those are essentially NFTs that people created as images. Alright, moving on. Let's talk about how GANs can actually change lives. So I'll be moving on from art to more practical applications, and technically it's considered art as they do use images in some way. So GANs can actually change lives. Where actually in the realm of law enforcement, it was actually used before to identify people. So if you see from this image behind me, this is actually again trying to creating an older image of yourself, and you can also use it for law enforcement purposes. So essentially, GANs can actually help aid police in tracking missing persons using just an old photograph. So there was actually this case where a GAN was actually able to recreate a missing woman's face using just pictures from a 3-year-old self and from her parents to actually determine how she would look like when. And similarly, GANs were also used in healthcare, in medical imaging. So if you see this, medical imaging task can actually use this something called data segmentation, which can be used for brain tumors and also be used for medical image synthesis. So this is actually a graph showing it. I believe that AI in the fourth industrial revolution is definitely very, very important, and I believe it actually helped contribute to the sustainable development goals of the UN. Not just in artwork, it also use it in many different use cases, such as in healthcare and even in law enforcement. So if you're actually more interested, you can read out about how GAN is used in healthcare and how GAN is used in law enforcement. Alright, so let's talk about the International Day for Universal Access to Information. I personally believe that information accessibility is important. Everyone should have access to information, as it is this information that guides people, and also this is the information that let people know what is going on, and I believe that is something very, very important. Definitely, it is very, very important to have information accessibility, and it is definitely something that I'm championing for. I think my time is up. I've come to the end of my presentation, so it's actually quite a brief introduction to GAN and how GAN was used in art and even being applied to the healthcare and even in law enforcement use cases. So thank you so much for listening to my presentation, and I hope my coughing and the sudden cuts isn't gonna bother you, as I'm actually quite sick. And yeah, so thank you so much to the organizers for inviting me, especially Mr. Cordell Green. Very, very happy for your support, and definitely very, very thankful for having you inviting me here, and especially thank you to all the people who are watching this video. So thank you so much everyone, and Have a great evening, afternoon, night, wherever you are, in whichever part of the world. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation.